Roan says between 700 and 800 ships pass through the port each year. Right now, we're sitting at about 468, which is down compared to years past. If you take a look over here, there are still crews on scene. We have several fire trucks and ambulances out here just outside the Applebee's and the Barnes & Noble here at the mall now. But they have open play throughout the week on Mondays and Thursdays, Monday mornings, Thursday evenings. I'm getting a workout here, as you can see, folks. Frozen and fresh turkeys are usually heavy in weight, but this year they're also heavy in price. The current county jail is about 20,000 square feet, but this new one is 3 times the size. These red pines stand tall above this buckthorn, and this is what the goats are actually eating on. Wild State Cider is able to produce about 500,000 gallons of cider. And to put that into perspective, that's about 12 million of these 12-ounce cans. And it takes a dedicated group of folks to get rinks like this one up and running, to get players to the big leagues. For most students, a normal package for portraits costs about $350. But for most seniors, those pictures are priceless. Big waves on the biggest Great Lake.
Well, I specifically wanted to see the waves. It's been on my bucket list for a long time to see the waves.
Christine Wahlberg came up from the Twin Cities for the weekend to check out the Whitecaps.
And you really feel how small you are and just a sense of how powerful the water and the lake is.
That power destroyed Duluth's iconic lake walk just a few years ago when a series of storms washed away parts of the shoreline.
To get farther away from the damage, we raised everything up, so we retreated vertically from the lake.
Mike LeBeau is an engineer for the city and helped craft the lake walk you see today. He says in weather like this, the changes are proving their worth.
When we get down there, what we added mostly was over 100,000 tons of rock.
Those rocks break up the big waves so that the trails and lights aren't damaged. They also constructed a new seawall to stop the waves, like the ones from Thursday's storm. But LeBeau says he doesn't know what will happen in the future.
You know, their engineers' predictions are 50 to 75 years minimum.
And while the lake walk gives Northlanders scenic walks all year round, it helps keep the city safe from millions of gallons of water.
This is so different than anything that's been ever built here before. It's so massive, really robust.
Over 4,000 calls a year, extinguishing flames,
1,
doing CPR,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Working in tight spaces,
even tighter, like a mummy,
and breaking windows to save patients.
Just a nice tap. Perfect.
Those are just a few things the Superior Fire Department does each day to keep the city's almost 30,000 residents safe. I got to experience it firsthand. But in order to respond to a call, you need to get suited up quickly. On within 2 minutes. That's how quick they have to get on the truck and get to a call. Their base layer is boots, pants, a jacket, hood, gloves, and a helmet.
Get set, go.
At this point, they would be firing up the truck to head out on the call. Things like zippers eat up time. Okay, now I'm stressed. According to those on the squad, it just becomes second nature. For me, not so much. Gosh, it's the gloves. But you can get it all on. Did we do it? 28 seconds to spare. We did it. Once their suits are on, Brandon Cardenas says they're ready to put out flames.
But we want to give you that sense of what we do. There isn't going to be smoke, but you'll feel the darkness, you'll feel the heat, you'll see the flames.
And did we feel the heat? After adding heavy and claustrophobic breathing equipment, Superior firefighters have to fight fires in all kinds of places, from homes to refineries. And while flames are the most well-known battle they face, most of their calls don't require hoses at all.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Almost 3/4 of their calls are medical, whether someone is having chest pain or have fallen down.
CPR, us at the fire service, we call it a code.
One of the most important things Jalon Sventek and Gus Abramson do is CPR on patients, waiting for an ambulance to show up.
And so they can take 20 to 30 minutes to get on scene. So that's on us as Superior Fire to work a code for 30 minutes.
And doing CPR for just a few minutes is hard work.
So a lot of people lean over. You're going to wear yourself out really quick doing that. And you're
But those compressions
using your hips,
can
not your
keep a
back.
person alive.
CPR works
And-
on patients.
And while medical calls make up a bulk of their work, they also rescue people from unexpected places.
So this scenario is something that we see averaging probably once or twice a year. Good?
Yeah.
All right.
While rare, Ben Dvorak says the rescue team can recover people out of the bottom of ships unique to the Twin Ports.
All right, and then slack on the blue. Navigating through that ship with somebody that's injured can be extremely challenging.
Challenging indeed. Luckily, this rescue had much more room, and I got to be the patient.
Who wants to do what?
I'll be a victim.
You want to be the victim?
Sure.
All right.
And from there, we were hoisted into the air using a basket.
Okay.
And normally, it's a lot busier around them when responding to a rescue.
They crawl off the main deck of the bridge and get to the substructure underneath. Rescuing those individuals, the lift is not super high, but you're working off the bottom of the...
windy and
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And the squad isn't always reaching new heights to rescue patients. Rather, it can take just one tap.
There you go.
John Weber and his team use the jaws of life, as they're known, to rescue patients in bad accidents.
We're taking this whole door off, so it's all right.
Getting the doors off of a wrecked car using massive tools isn't easy, but the heavy lifting is why they do the job.
Perfect. And just like that, we got the door off.
Saving lives, one fire, one
2,
compression,
3, 4, 5, 6.
one lift, and one cut at a time.
Perfect.
That's the firefighter spirit.
Perfect.
In Superior,
And just like that, we're done.
Mitchell Zimmermann, Northern News Now.
Yeah.
I felt that I was okay to drive.
That's the same excuse Officer Todd Simmons with Duluth PD hears all the time when stopping people for potential DWIs.
There was 124 deaths, drunk driving deaths in Minnesota last year, and we're seeing an uptick in those numbers.
And that uptick is concerning for Simmons, who looks for some key signs when he suspects a drunk driver.
Jerking of the wheels, wide turns, varying speeds.
He says it's because impaired drivers are trying to concentrate more than normal.
But it could be a number of things, like a failure to signal or a stop sign is another big violation.
Over 117 people were caught last year by Officer Simmons driving behind the wheel under the influence. And he says this year he's on par to break that record.
There's signs that you watch out for, obviously slurred speech, wobbling when they're walking a little bit, things like that.
Keith Kern is the president of the Tavern League Wisconsin. He says he personally hasn't seen more impaired people get behind the wheel this year. He knows there's also a need for programs to stop it from happening.
Safe Ride program is a program that was created by the State of Wisconsin Tavern League quite a few years ago.
They give out free rides.
The bar does, if they are participating, we do charge $4 for that voucher, and then the Tavern League picks up the rest of the expense.
Back in Duluth, Officer Simmons says, have a game plan before you go out.
Our goal is to encourage people to have a plan to get home safely rather than risk it getting into a vehicle and hurting someone or yourself.